The empty lot in Memphis. The lot sat at the corner of Beale and Danny Thomas Boulevard, a scruffy patch of dirt and weeds where Denise had once pictured a family home. White clapboard wraparound porch, a kitchen where a tin canister held her savings. $2-300, mostly in 20s, tucked behind the flour. She'd been saving for a new water heater, but half of it had gone to Keisha's emergencies over the past year. The math was brutal. $200 a month for groceries, $1,200 for Jamal's senior dues, $800 for Keisha's car repairs that never seemed to fix anything. Nearly $6,000 in 2 years, not counting the small stuff. Sneakers for Jamal, a winter coat for Keisha. Denise had eaten rice and beans for weeks to cover it, cancelled her cable, skipped her annual checkup. All for them to cut her out like she was nothing. The doorbell rang, sharp and insistent. Denise's heart thudded. She peeked through the blinds and saw Keisha on the porch, her braids pulled into a high bun, wearing a neon green tank top and cut-off shorts. Jamal slouched behind her, scrolling on his phone. His Air Jordans scuffed from pickup games. Denise opened the door, the grocery bag still heavy in her hand. "Ma, you get my text." Keisha's voice was bright, like nothing had happened. "Jamal's car is actin' up again. Mechanic says it's the alternator. Can you help us out?" Denise's grip tightened on the bag. "I saw the pictures, Keisha." Keisha's smile faltered, but she recovered fast. "Pictures? Oh, you mean the graduation? It was real small, Ma. Just a few folks. We didn't want to stress you out." "Stress me out." Denise's voice was low, steady, but it carried the weight of 1,000 unsaid words. "I paid for Jamal's cap and gown. I paid for his senior pictures. I was gonna be there, clapping louder than anybody. But I wasn't cool enough, was I?" Jamal looked up from his phone, his eyes wide. "Grandma, it wasn't like that." "Don't." Denise raised a hand. "You let your mama post that I wasn't welcome. You let her call me uncool in front of the whole world." Keisha stepped forward, her voice softening. "Ma, you're talking it personal. It was just a party. You know we love you." Denise laughed, a dry, bitter sound. "Love. I've been loving you both with every dollar I got. $6,000 in 2 years, Keisha. My retirement money. My grocery money. And you couldn't even invite me to my grandson's graduation." Keisha's face hardened. "We didn't ask you to do all that. You wanted to help. That's on you." The words hit like a slap. Denise stared at her, then at Jamal, who wouldn't meet her eyes. She handed Keisha the grocery bag. "This is the last thing you're gettin' from me. Pencils, notebooks, crayons. For Jamal's college classes. After this, you're on your own." Keisha snatched the bag, her jaw tight. "You serious? You gonna cut us off when we're drownin'? What kind of family does that?" "The kind that's tired of being used," Denise said. She closed the door, her hands shaking, and leaned against it, listening as Keisha's curses faded down the street. That night, Denise couldn't sleep. The house was too quiet, the hum of the fridge her only company. She sat at the kitchen table, her tin canister open, counting the remaining bills. $1,800. Enough for the water heater, maybe a little left for herself. She thought of the empty lot, how she'd bought it with Leroy's life insurance, dreaming of a house where Jamal could grow up safe, where Keisha could start over. But Keisha had her own apartment, a cramped duplex in Whitehaven, and Jamal was headed to community college, if he could keep his car running. Denise opened her laptop and scrolled through Keisha's Facebook again. The graduation photos stung less now, replaced by a slow-burning anger. There was Keisha's cousin, grinning with a beer. There was Jamal's basketball coach, toasting with a paper plate of ribs. There was Keisha's new boyfriend, a wiry guy with a gold chain, his arm around her. All of them cool. All of them invited. Denise clicked on a photo of Jamal cutting the cake. His smile wide but tired. She wondered if he'd wanted her there, if he'd argued with Keisha about it. Or if he'd just gone along, too young to know what it cost her. She closed the laptop and walked to the lot at dawn, the Memphis sky streaked pink and gray. The lot looked smaller in the morning light, less like a dream and more like a burden. A faded "for sale" sign leaned against the fence, put there by a realtor who'd given up years ago. Denise kicked a loose rock, imagining the house that never was. She'd been so sure love could build it. Love for Jamal, for Keisha, for the family she'd lost when Leroy died. But love wasn't enough when it only flowed one way. Her phone buzzed again. "Keisha, Ma, we're sorry. Can we talk? Jamal really needs that car fixed." Denise deleted the text without replying. She walked back home, her steps lighter, and pulled out a yellow legal pad. She started listing everything she'd given them. $6,000 in cash, plus clothes, food, gas money. The total came to $8,200, more than she'd realized. Money she'd taken from her own future, from the trips she'd never taken, the art classes she'd never signed up for. She tore the page off and taped it to the fridge, a reminder of what she'd lost, and what she wouldn't lose again. A week later, Keisha showed up unannounced, banging on the door like a debt collector. Denise was in the backyard, weeding her tomato plants, when she heard the noise. She wiped her hands on her jeans and opened the door, finding Keisha in tears, mascara streaking her cheeks. Jamal stood behind her, his hands in his pockets, staring at the ground. "Ma, the landlord's gonna evict us," Keisha said, her voice breaking. "We're 2 months behind. $1,200. I know you're mad, but we got nowhere else to turn." Denise crossed her arms. "You got a job, Keisha. You're a cashier at Kroger. Jamal's workin' at FedEx part-time. Why ain't that enough?" Keisha's tears stopped, her eyes narrowing. "You know how much rent is in this city. And Jamal's car. I'm tryin', Ma. But you always helped before. You gonna let us end up on the street?" Denise looked at Jamal, waiting for him to speak. He shifted his weight, his voice low. "Grandma, I'm sorry about the graduation. Mama said it was better to keep it small. I shoulda told you." "You shoulda," Denise said. "But you didn't. And now you're here, a skin, for more money like nothing happened." Keisha stepped closer, her voice sharp. "You act like we owe you for every penny. Your family, Ma. Family helps family." Denise pointed to the empty lot across the street, visible through her front window. "I bought that land for us. For you, Jamal, to have a home. I spent my life savant for it. And you spent my money on parties I wasn't invited to. Family don't treat family like that." Keisha's face twisted. "You holdin' that land over our heads. You never built nothin' on it. It's just dirt." "It's my dirt," Denise said. "And I'm done givin' it away." Jamal finally looked up, his eyes wet. "Grandma, I didn't mean to hurt you. I swear." Denise's heart softened, but only for a moment. "I know, baby. But you let it happen. And I can't keep payin' for your mama's choices." Keisha grabbed Jamal's arm and stormed off, muttering about selfish old ladies. Denise watched them drive away in Jamal's beat-up Civic, the engine coughing like it was on its last legs. She went back to her tomatoes, pulling weeds with a ferocity she didn't know she had. The next day, Denise drove to the lot with a bag of wildflower seeds she'd bought at Home Depot for $12.99. She didn't know why she'd chosen wildflowers. Maybe because they were tough like her, blooming where they were planted. She scattered the seeds across the lot, the wind catching them like tiny prayers. "This is for me now," she said aloud, her voice steady against the hum of traffic. She didn't need a house anymore. She needed a life. Back home, she found a flyer in her mailbox for a blues guitar class at the Memphis Public Library. It was $50 for 6 weeks. Taught by a local musician named Otis who'd played with Stax Records back in the day. Denise hadn't touched a guitar since high school, when she and Leroy used to strum folk tunes on the porch. She signed up online, her fingers trembling with excitement, not fear. The first class was in a cramped library room that smelled of old paper and coffee. Otis was a wiry man in his 70s, with a gray fedora and a voice like gravel. He handed Denise a battered acoustic guitar and said, "Play what you feel, not what you know." The other students were a mix. 2 college kids, a retired cop, a single mom with purple hair. Denise's fingers fumbled the chords, but by the end of the hour, she'd played a shaky version of Crossroads. Felt like coming home. After class, she stopped at Overton Park, sitting on a bench by the pond where she used to take Jamal to feed the ducks. She pulled out her phone and blocked Keisha's number. Then, hesitating, she blocked Jamal's too. It hurt, but it was necessary. She wasn't cutting them off forever, just until they learned she was more than a wallet. Weeks passed, and Denise settled into a new rhythm. Mornings were for coffee and the newspaper. Afternoons for gardening or painting the lot's fence, a bright turquoise she'd found on sale at Lowe's. Evenings were for guitar class, where she was getting better, her fingers finding the blues like they'd been waiting all along. She made friends with a single mom, LaToya, who invited her to a barbecue at her place in Orange Mound. For the first time in years, Denise laughed without worrying about a phone call from Keisha. But the calls didn't stop completely. Keisha started using burner numbers, leaving voicemails that swung between pleading and threatening. "Ma, we're sorry. Can we just talk? You owe us, Denise. You can't just abandon your family." Jamal sent one text. "I miss you, Grandma. Sorry." Denise saved it but didn't reply. She was done being the safety net. One humid afternoon, Denise was at the lot, planting more wildflowers, when Keisha's car pulled up. She got out with a man in a cheap suit, his briefcase gleaming in the sun. Jamal wasn't with her. Denise stood, brushing dirt from her hands, her heart racing but her face calm. "Ma, this is Mr. Coleman," Keisha said, her voice syrupy. "He's a lawyer. We're worried about you. You've been actin' strange, cutting us off, blocking our numbers. We think you need help." Denise's laugh was sharp like broken glass. "Help? You mean you need my money? What's this, Keisha? You tryin' to say I'm crazy?" Mr. Coleman stepped forward, his smile practiced. "Mrs. Johnson, we're concerned about your mental health. Your family says you've been erratic, isolating yourself. We're exploring a conservatorship to protect your assets." Denise's blood ran cold. She'd heard stories like this. Elders declared incompetent by greedy relatives, their savings drained by court orders. She thought of Renata, the woman from the story she'd read online, fighting her own son in court. "You got no proof," she said. "I'm sharper than you, Mr. Coleman, and I got receipts for every dime I gave them." Keisha's eyes flashed. "You can't just cut us off, Ma. We got bills you promised to help with. That lot's worth something. You gonna let it sit there while we lose our home?" Denise pointed to the wildflowers, just starting to sprout. "This lot's mine. I'm building something new, something for me. You want money? Get a second job. Jamal's got arms and legs. Let him work." Mr. Coleman scribbled notes, unfazed. "We'll be in touch, Mrs. Johnson. A judge may need to review your capacity." As they drove away, Denise called her friend LaToya, who'd mentioned a lawyer cousin. By evening, she was sitting with Marcus, a sharp-eyed attorney in a midtown office cluttered with legal books. He listened to her story, nodding as she showed him the list taped to her fridge. $8,200 in 2 years. "This is elder financial abuse," Marcus said, his voice firm. "We'll document everything. Bank statements, texts, voicemails. I'll file for a restraining order if they keep harassing you. And we'll get you a cognitive evaluation to prove you're sound." Denise nodded, relief mixing with dread. "What if they take me to court?" "They can try," Marcus said. "But you've got the upper hand. You're competent, you've got records, and you've got witnesses. Keep living your life, Ms. Denise. That's your best defense." The next month was a whirlwind. Denise met with a neurologist who confirmed her mental sharpness. Her memory and reasoning scored higher than most 60-year-olds. She changed her locks, installed a cheap security camera from Walmart, and opened a new bank account at Regions, transferring her savings where Keisha couldn't touch it. She kept going to guitar class, her fingers now nimble enough to play Sweet Home Chicago without a hitch. LaToya and Otis became her cheerleaders, clapping when she nailed a riff. One evening, Denise drove to the lot after a rainstorm, the air thick with petrichor. The wildflowers were blooming, purple coneflowers, black-eyed Susans, a riot of color against the gray cityscape. She sat on a folding chair, strumming her guitar, the notes mingling with the hum of Beale Street. A kid on a bike stopped to listen, his eyes wide. "You sound good, lady," he said before pedaling off. Denise smiled, her heart full. Her phone buzzed. A voicemail from an unknown number. She played it, expecting Keisha's voice, but it was Jamal. "Grandma, it's me. I'm at a friend's place. Mama's been a lot. I know I messed up. I shoulda invited you to graduation. I was scared to stand up to her. Can we talk? Just us." Denise saved the message but didn't call back. Not yet. She wanted to believe him, but she'd learned trust was earned, not given. She strummed another chord, the blues carrying her pain and her hope into the Memphis night. 6 months later, Denise stood in the lot, now a community garden. She'd partnered with a local nonprofit, turning the dirt into raised beds of tomatoes, okra, and collards. Neighbors volunteered, kids planted seeds, and Otis played guitar at the grand opening. The commercial appeal ran a story. Memphis grandma turns empty lot into urban oasis. Denise framed the clipping, hanging it next to Jamal's old photo. Keisha had backed off after Marcus sent a cease and desist letter, threatening to countersue for elder abuse. Jamal started texting more, small messages about his classes or a new job at a warehouse. Denise replied cautiously, keeping her distance but leaving the door cracked. One day, he showed up at the garden, carrying a tray of seedlings. "Grandma, can I help?" he asked, his voice soft. Denise handed him a shovel. "Start diggin'. We got work to do." As they planted, the sun setting over Beale, Denise felt the weight of the past lift. She wasn't just a grandmother or a checkbook. She was Denise Johnson, gardener, guitarist, survivor. The lot wasn't empty anymore, and neither was she. If you enjoyed my story and would like to help me create more, your support through a small donation would mean the world to me. Thank you so much in advance. Now, tell me, what would you have done in this person's place? I'd really love to hear your thoughts, so please share them in the comments below. I'm always eager to know your perspectives and where you first discovered this story. If you'd like to hear more real-life stories like this one, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. There are many more waiting for you. With warm regards, Jen.